Hello and welcome to LangChain tutorial. So in this video, we'll see how to connect to any model through LangChain. So as we saw in previous video, one of the core components of LangChain is models, right? And that gives you a standardized interface to connect to any LLM. You can connect to any LLM using these model, be it GPT, Claude, Gemini, Olama, and any other LLM. So there are two options actually in LangChain which you can use to connect to any LLM. So it gives you a init chat model function. That is one way, or you can use specific classes. So there are specific classes also like chat Anthropic or chat OpenAI if you want to connect to GPT model, chat Google, Generative AI, there is chat Olama and many more like this. Right, so let's dive into creating our first program, but before that we need to do some setup. So I am going to use Visual Studio Code for writing program. You can use any editor, be it Visual Studio Code or there is PyCharm or Spider. So I have already done some initial setup where I have created a folder in my system. That's what I've opened here using open folder. All right, and I have created one more folder by going to new folder, and this is the folder L1 model. That's where I'll be writing my code files. And apart from that, I've also created new file using new file, one file named .env and another file named requirements.txt. There is also one UC folder .venv that will be created automatically. So that is actually your virtual environment. So why we need that is so that you can create all the dependencies which you use in this project that you can keep in a separate folder, isolated development environment you have where all the packages which you install are for this project only. They won't interfere with any other Python project. That is the use of this. So we'll start with this, how you can create that. You can go to the terminal. Ensure you have this command prompt open or whatever operating system you are using based on that. So that is where to start create this VNV. You can use this command. You will use this command if you also want to create a specific Python version. So I have 3.14, which is the current version in my system. But what happens is all the other dependencies or packages which I'm going to use may not have the updated version as per the current Python version. I personally saw that I was working with Crew AI and that does not support 3.14. So better to go one level or two level down. So you can have any version between 3.10 to 3.13. So that is why I have this. Then -m because I want to run module as a script. And this is the module which I want to run as script, venv. And this is the folder which it will create.venv. So that is why I'm running this command. If you already have a different version of Python, not 3.14, then you can just run this much. So it will create a folder.venv with all the necessary dependencies, and later you can download more. Then you need to activate this virtual environment. So for that, you can just go to scripts and within that activate. So that will activate this virtual environment. You will see this that confirms that you are in this version. And if you want to come out, then you can run deactivate. All right, so you have to be in this virtual environment. Then you have .env file. So that is needed to create all the environment variable. So basically we'll use it to keep our API keys. And what I'm going to use mostly is Grok and Gemini, because they have a free tier, so you can use them without incurring any um, fee for using the API. But you have to go and register to the respective site. I'll show you how you can do that. And that's where you'll get the API. So you have to use a key value pair in this .env file. So this will be the key for Gemini and the respective key. Then for Grok. And just FYI, this is Grok, not GROK, Grok, which is an inference provider. So that is why we need .env and requirements.txt to list all the packages which you need to install. So initially we'll need these many packages actually. So this is needed python-.env to load your environment variables. Then this LangChain to get all the core components. Then specific model based packages. So if you are going to use OpenAI, then LangChain -OpenAI, Gemini, then this. For Grok, if you are going to use Olama, then LangChain-Olama. So these are all the packages which you will need, and to install it you need to run this command. Sorry, I'm here in the terminal. Let me pip install -r and requirements.txt. That's what you can run. Press enter and it will load all the or install all these packages. Then if you go here, you will see in lib all the packages are installed. I've already done that, so I'm not going to run this command, but that's what you have to do and be in your environment. So all the packages are installed within this virtual environment. So that's what you need to do as initial setup. Let me go to these sites and show you how you can create API key and see for the model which you need to call. All right, for setting the API key, you can just do a search with Gemini API and Grok API to go to the respective sites. If I go to Grok, there you have this option API keys. Using that, you can create an API key for yourself. Then you copy it and add it to that env file, .env file. If you go here, Grok, you can check for all the models which are available. So you can choose whichever you want to use. Grok is an inference provider which gives access to many open source models. I'll be mostly using Qwen 332 billion parameter option. This one, you can choose whichever you find good or better than this. Then same way for Gemini, you can go to Gemini site and there also you have API key option and create API key. Using that, you can create again, copy that API key to .env file in your project. Here again, if you go to ai.google.dev, you have this pricing. Here you can check, since all the models do not provide free tier, so you can check which model has, like this Pro Preview does not have free tier, but this flashlight Gemini 3.1 flashlight preview, this provides free tier. So just have a look, whichever you can use, that you can copy and use as a model. This also is a rate limit, so just to be aware of how much you are using. You can check that. It gives you options here, rate limit, spend, how much usage, so you can check that. So that's how you can set up the API key for the model which you are using. All right, so if you have followed the instructions till now, you should be done with your setup. You should have all the packages, your requirements.txt, which are installed in your virtual environment, as well as API keys which are in .env file. Now we can start creating our first program, so that I can write in L1 model, and the name of my class, suppose I'm using Gemini model, so I can give init underscore Gemini.py. Within that, now I can start writing my code. So first thing I have to do some imports. So let me grab that. So I need init chat model function, so that is imported, as well as load underscore dot env. Then I can call this function load underscore dot env. That will load all the environment variables, and LangChain will take care of loading the API key from this. Then I have to call this init underscore chat underscore model function. Within that, I can provide the model which I'm going to use. So let me grab the name of that. All right, so I'm going to use Gemini underscore 3.1 underscore flash underscore light dot preview. With that, to make it more explicit that it is from Google, I can also give model underscore provider parameter. Within that, I can provide the value that it is from Google Gen AI. Then the third argument which I can give is temperature actually. So its value I'm giving as 0.3. Now what exactly is this temperature? Let me explain that. So with temperature actually you can control the creativity of the LLM you are using. So the usual value is from 0 to 2. If you give a lower value, that means your LLM will give a very focused kind of answer, deterministic and focused kind of answer to the point, right? Whereas if you give a higher value for temperature, you will make your LLM more creative, and it will try to give you a creative kind of answer. So you give, right, more room to your LLM to be creative. So that is the idea behind giving the value of temperature. So if you are trying to write some content, essay, poem using your LLM, then you should use a higher value for temperature. Whereas if you are looking for a very focused answer, then you can use lower value. Now we need to invoke our LLM with a prompt. So prompt I'm giving as, already prepared that. Let me copy that. It's a small one which says explain agentic AI in 5 lines. And the response I'm storing in response variable, which I later print. So that's the whole code. Let me reiterate what we have done till now. So we have imported, going to use init chat model function that is imported, and load underscore dot env. Then of course we have to call that function to load the environment variable. Then we have init underscore chat underscore model with the necessary argument with model I'm calling, what's the temperature, and then we invoke that model with the value and print the response. So that's what the program is doing. Now we can run it. So it is under L1 hyphen model. So I have to call from there using Python. So Python, then this path. Okay, so I made a small change. I changed the model name to actually Gemini hyphen 2.5 hyphen flash, because the last one which I was using was giving some traffic error, high traffic error. It was not letting me use that. So I have changed this to this name. And with that, when I ran my program, I got content. If you see with the response, if I print, I get a lot of other things also apart from content. I get which model I'm using, model provider, model name, how many tokens are sent, input tokens, output tokens. So it gives me a lot of metadata also. So if you want only content, you can say response dot content. That will give you only the content part. Let's see it in another program. If I want to use, let's say, grok, net underscore grok dot py, and copy the same thing and just change the model name there. So everything else is same. We still have the same imports, model, init chat model. Here now I can give the model name as when. and model provider will be Grok. Rest of the things will be same. And now I've changed it to response.content. With that, if I run again, not this, grok.py. Okay, there is an error. Okay, I missed the E. So let me run again. Okay, so I get a response again. You see, with this, actually, there are some models which give you the thinking part also, how they came to that result, what you are seeing. So if you don't want that part, there is another actually argument, which if I'm not wrong is um, reasoning underscore format equal to hidden. So you can hide the reasoning part. With that, if I run, okay, all right, I missed the comma. So with that, if you see, I get only the content part, which gives me 5 lines about agentic AI. So that is one way how you can interact with different LLMs using LangChain, using init chat model. Now there is also another way where you use the chat classes. So we can use different chat model classes also in LangChain to connect to these LLMs. So these names actually start with chat only. So they are prefixed with chat. So you'll have chat OpenAI for OpenAI models, chat Anthropic for chat Anthropic models, same way chat Olama for Olama models, and chat Grok for Grok, and so on. And the package which you need to install to use this will also follow the same kind of nomenclature. So you'll have LangChain underscore OpenAI for using OpenAI chat model class, LangChain underscore Anthropic if you want to use Anthropic model class, and so on. So this is a small image which shows in LangChain you have these chat model classes. So chat OpenAI to connect to GPT models, Anthropic to connect to Claude models, same way chat Google Generative AI actually, that is Google Generative AI. Then you have chat Grow, chat Olama, and many more like this. So let's try to create a program using these chat model classes. Okay, so let's write code to use chat model classes. So first I'll create a file to use which I'll name chat underscore Gemini.py to use chat Google Generative AI, and here I can just import the classes which I need. So that will be chat Google Generative AI from LangChain underscore Google underscore Gen package, and of course I need load.env, that function I'll call to load the environment variables. Then I can call this chat Google Generative AI class with the arguments. That arguments I'll just copy from the previous program and make the necessary changes here. So now I don't need this model provider because that is quite explicit from the class itself that I'm going to use Google Generative AI, Google models. So I don't need to explicitly provide, right? Then of course model.invoke, that remains the same. There I have to give the prompt. So this time I'm going to give another prompt. Let me copy that. So that is, what is the role of GPU in deep learning? Explain in 5 lines. And then I can print that. Okay, let me make some space. So I can print that response.content. With that, if I run this program, chatgemini.py in L1 model, So I get the response. So I asked for 5 lines. So I get 5 lines about the role of GPU in deep learning. Same way, if I want to use ChatGrok, let's say, so I can create another file where I'll write the code for that. So this time I have to import a ChatGrok model class. So that I'll import here. Then, of course, I have to call that ChatGrok class with the model which I'm going to use. So that again I can copy from the old program. And here again, if you see, I can remove this model provider because again that is evident from the class itself that I'm going to call the grok. With that same thing, I have to call the model. So model dot invoke with the prompt using the same prompt, and I print the content. So if I run this program now, so chat underscore grok dot py I have to run. Okay, I get an error for API key. So I forgot to call that function. So that's what I was trying to tell, right? That you have to load these environment variable, otherwise it won't find that key. Now if I run it again, I get that content role of GPU. So that is all for this chat model class. And uh, to start with a small programs about how you call model, but we'll hopefully build on this knowledge to create better programs. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.